Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. It is the Daily Dish, and you are here, and I'm so delighted about that because we are live today. Today is Tuesday. Tuesday is live day. I don't know how to make any kind of alliteration out of that, so you're just going to have to deal with it. But Tuesday is live day. Hello, Catherine. Hello, Jane and Jocelyn. It's good to have you here. One of the things that we have been doing since we've cut back on all the live shows is that we have cataloged we're cataloging all of our shows, and we have a resource page for you that will contain the show and the notes. How about that? So right now it's kind of sparse, but as we go, it will be bigger and bigger and bigger. Hi, Helen, Jocelyn, good to have you here. Anyway, so that's what we're doing. And if you haven't been watching your email, why? We started our Black Friday sale early. And let me just tell you, if you want amazing savings, you better tune in because I'm not giving you any links here. No, ma'am. No links for you. You need to check your email and you need to get going now. Or you can just go to the Saving Dinner page. I'm sure you can navigate from there. But I just want to tell you, the savings are like nothing you've ever seen. They're better than any Black Friday savings we've ever had. And they're going quickly. When they're gone, they're gone. Am I right? Nancy. Mother Hen's in the house. Cheers. Here's to you, Nancy. Good to have you here. So, speaking of that, we also have Tanya's here. Hello, hello. Martha as well. I'm so glad to see you all. So, I was thinking, one live show a week. Okay, I'm good with that. And it's good for me because I want to connect still. And, even though I've got all of my little projects going on the side, and I can't wait to share them all with you, by the way. Right now, they're all under construction, shall we say, and I will be sharing them with you as soon as I can. Hi, Alice. So here's the thing that you need to know too. As I think about, because we're not doing a theme of the week anymore with 4 different shows, I'm just going to share with you scrapbooks from my life, from my journal, and things that are just kind of making me think and turning my thoughts around and creating an evolution, if you will, in my own head, because we all have to do that. This is how we become who we're supposed to become, right? So we have Jenny in the house. Yes, we have Amber in the house. Yes, and Amber's mom, Jenny, is here. So we have Jenny, Jennie, our Jenny, and then we have Jenny, Jenny. Isn't that cool? She's here from South Africa. She's visiting, and she's surrounded with 3 little girls and her big girl as well. So I'm sure there's lots of love going on in Amber's household. So we're celebrating with her. All righty. So quote of the week, Patsy. Hello, hello. It's good to have you here. Did you see the quote of the week yet? Have you written it down in your journal? Have you? The quote of the week is, let me go pull it up. Jenny, there it is. Don't dig your grave with your own fork. Boom. What is that? That is a cosmic 2x4, and it goes back to what we're going to be talking about today, which is deep responsibility. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about that today. This is something that's just lodged in my own heart, and I want to share it with you. This is really, I think, critical and important. When we are digging our graves with our own forks, you know exactly what that means. That means that you're just, we're not eating in the intentional way that we should be. There's intentionality when it comes to food, because food is information for our bodies, and our bodies are either going to take that information and use it for bodily processes in our bodies that makes everything work well, or it's going to light it on fire, y'all. It's going to light it on fire. And I will tell you right now, you don't want the fire. You don't want the fire. With the fire comes all kinds of things, and most of them lead to pain and suffering and limitations. I don't know about you, but I don't want limitations in my life. I want more, even at this old age, right? Intentionality in all we do, Jane. Yes. And hello, Virginia. I don't see you here commenting, but you know what? Somebody saw you, so I'm saying hi too. Anyway, I'm going to read you something that I wrote on the 9th, whenever that was, from my journal, because I just went, this is what happens. Sometimes after I have a meditation, I get like this little download and just think, and it goes into my journal, and it really helps me focus, and it shifts things a little bit for me. So, I'm going to share it with you because I don't know, maybe this isn't just for me. Hi, Sue, Jackie. The power I possess, I underestimate, which is true. You do too, don't you? Hello, Gisela. Good to have you here. The power I possess, I underestimate. I have dominion over my own body. I can create wellness, strength, and joy. I can defy my age and embrace athleticism, health, vibrancy, and deeply rooted joy, because every single cell of this body that I enjoy living my life through is mine. And then this is when the whole thing came, and I started. Deep ownership requires deep responsibility. I'm deeply responsible to correct the imbalances and create the right conditions for healing, health, and vibrancy to the very best of my ability. It's directly on me. There's no one to blame but myself. I must accept this if I'm going to live the way God has called me to live. If I'm to achieve what I am called to do by God Himself, then I must first take deep responsibility for myself. I must create the health, not just hope for it. I must create the strength, not just but read about it or talk about it. This understanding of my own power is essential because no one else can claim my power unless I give it away or to someone or something else. Deep ownership requires deep responsibility. That was my download. And I'm sharing this with you because it's easy to stray from the call that's on your life. And if we understand that we're all here on purpose and for purpose, then we understand we are all mission oriented and we're all here to do something. And we can't do it fully and optimally if we are constrained by our own forks, if we're constrained by our own bodies, if we're constrained by the health we're not giving ourselves. And the reason we don't give ourselves what it is that we give ourselves, we need to be giving ourselves, is too often we're so quick on giving ourselves a pass, or we're too busy beating ourselves up for not doing something right, instead of getting into the meat of the matter and looking and analyzing, what is it that's off here? How can I fix this? How can I make this better? What do I need to do to adjust, to fit, to customize, to create what it is that I want in my life? If I'm called on purpose and for purpose, then my first obligation, my first part of this deep responsibility is to dig in and to understand that deep ownership and deep responsibility go hand in hand. And that means that we don't just give ourselves a pass. That means that we don't just pile on and what have you. And I'm starting to believe, this is my own thoughts, and you can feel free to disagree with me, but I feel like it's almost an excuse when we pile on ourselves. Well, I can't because I have all this and all this stuff going on, and I never do anything right anyway. And that's just a pile of excuses. It's a negative pile of excuses, and it's a good garbagey way to skirt around the issue and not take deep responsibility, isn't it? Because if we have this pile of ready to go excuses in the form of piling on, then we don't have to really address the situation, do we? Talk about not taking deep ownership. So anyway, I want to talk about how this impacts different parts of your life, because it all does. It's not just one thing, it's all the things. And this is what we do. This is why we talk about vibrancy, living your life in full bloom, because we aren't just a dress size, we aren't just the color of our lipstick, and we aren't just someone's spouse or, a worker bee somewhere. That's not who we are. When we see ourselves as the whole women that we are, then we understand that the vibrancy we seek requires an effort on all parts of ourselves. Every part of us deserves attention. This is why women so often forget about self-care, right? We think about everybody else and take care of everything else, and we go by the sidelines, and then we wonder why we're bitter and angry. We wonder why we feel unfulfilled or depressed or feel like frustrated and like nothing ever gets done, and what about me? And that's when we start saying all of those sad sack stories, and it's just ridiculous. Hey, Jeanette. So when we understand that deep ownership requires deep responsibility, then we don't leave anything untouched. Our hands touch everything. And that's not an overwhelming thing. That's just an understanding of this concept of vibrancy, of being a whole woman, of living our lives in full bloom. That's what that is. Because we can't just be about one thing. Then everything else just goes to, where in a handbasket. So let's look at how this principle affects various parts of our lives. And this is what you're going to see in the show notes for tomorrow's newsletter, okay? Number one is accountability in personal growth. That's huge, because this acknowledges that you are the primary architect in your life. Amen? You are. Who else is going to build this? Who else is going to build your life? If you're handing over responsibility, if you're abdicating your responsibility to someone else to do it for you, I guarantee it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fulfilling. It's not going to bring out the best of who you are. You're not going to find out what you're made out of. We don't need to do that. We don't need to step back and allow somebody else to step in. We don't need to do that. We need to take our power back and own our own lives. Hi, Emily. So your choices more than your circumstances are the thing that's going to shape your journey, how you do this, how you create the life that you want. And when you own your own decisions, you become more accountable for your own personal growth. And it also, guess what else this does? This absolutely creates more resilience, more adaptability, and just more vibrancy in your life. It just has to, because you have stepped into saying, this is what my personal growth journey is about, because it is, right? There's also an impact on mental health. This one I love because it gives you freedom. When you understand that it's on you and no one else, that there's no one left to blame, that there's no one, you can search and search and search, but it's you. When you do that, you take back your power, because you're taking back that energy instead of looking for someone to blame shift it to, or circumstances or whatever. Instead, this underscores the importance of control and ownership of your own mental well-being. It does. It gives you that. And it's linked to, this is what the studies tell us, it's linked to lower stress levels and better mental health, because there's no if, ands, or buts. It's all on you. And that's cool. When we understand that, then we start to look for solution and possibility when things aren't going right. We stop, we pull back, we say, okay, what's going on here? And we do a workaround and we figure things out. I'm doing this myself with my strength training. So I had set myself up. Monday, I'm going to do lower body. Tuesday, I'm going to do upper body, lower body. This was how I had the whole thing set up. And you know what? It just wasn't working. It was like some days, yes, and some weeks, yes. But more often than not, something would get missed. And it would frustrate me, not because I was such a perfectionist, it had to be done a certain way, but because I had signed up, if you will, for this idea of being deeply responsible for myself. And yet I wasn't able to fully um, carry through with what I said I was going to do. So I've been adapting it and customizing it to fit my life. So Tuesdays and Thursdays just became full body. Instead of breaking it up, I just do Tuesday and Thursday, just longer time at the gym. So what? It's easier because those are the days I'm not, playing pickleball, except, well, Thursday I am in the afternoon. And it also gave me just this rest time, which I need to not be doing something with weights because I was getting extraordinarily sore. So this seems to be operating better, but it was only when I gave myself freedom to do that. It was only when I decided I wasn't going to torture myself over not doing this and keep pushing at trying to make it all work. Square peg into a round hole, anyone? You ever hear that before? And instead went into this whole idea of doing it. And guess what? It's made it so much easier, so much better. Am I getting the full benefit? I am. I'm just doing it a little differently. That's what we do when we take deep responsibility and deep ownership. It just works out because you figure things out. And that's a mental health thing, big time. It also gives you professional success. Did you know that? When you do this at work, when you are deeply responsible for the things that you were assigned instead of blame shifting it to a fellow person and doing all this other kind of stuff, come on, when you do that, what do you do? You expend energy into something that's not where it needs to go. You need to take back that energy. And by doing so, you take back your power. And taking back your power, you know what that means? Taking back your power means that you take full responsibility for your tasks, your responsibilities, your projects at work. And I'm going to tell you what, with this mental clarity in place, with this idea of this is what it's about, and with all facets of your life, your work is going to improve as well. You're going to do this well. Not only are you going to do it well, but you're going to do it in a way that makes you proud and feeds the momentum. And what does that do? When we feed the momentum like that, we get magic. That's what happens. Motivation, momentum equals magic. Every single time. It's never failed me. So this is going to really help also with your relationships. When we go full out on our relationships, what do you think happens? What do you think happens? Well, it means that you acknowledge your part. You don't blame your spouse. You don't shift it over to them and say, well, if you had only this, then I wouldn't have done that. You see how juvenile that sounds? It just sounds crazy town. So when we understand that our actions affect others and someone says, hey, this is what's going on, or this is what it is, or even if they're trying to blame shift to you, you can take back and say, you know what, this is what I own. Those words are the words that I said, and I take responsibility for those. And I will tell you, if I said something that harmed you in any way, I apologize. It was not the intention. This is what I was trying to do, etc. I mean, whatever is important, but still taking on responsibility for whatever it is. And you know what? What that does is it gives you a contribution into this relationship. It also is an accountability part for the missteps, for the oopsies, for the foot in your mouth stuff, because we all do it. We're all human. And if we're always looking for somebody else to push it back onto, instead of taking it on as our own, instead of owning the words that came out of our mouths or trying to dismiss it too rapidly, then we don't grow in that relationship, right? That's a big deal. And this is also going to lead to emotional intelligence, more empathy, more compassion. And I will tell you another thing that happens too. And this is the truth. It takes those arguments or fights or spats or whatever, and it shrinks them right down because there's no pushback anymore. There's just responsibility. Does that make sense to you? I've noticed this in my own life, and this is where is my my Take Back Your Life journal is upstairs. But I did this in my Take Back Your Life journal. It was one of my goals to elevate my relationship with my husband and with my children. And you know what? It works because I take full responsibility. I will do the planning. I will say the words that need to be said. I will remember to be appreciative and to say it out loud. All of these things add to the tapestry that is your relationship with the people that you love the most. And unfortunately, we have a tendency to really put on the dog and pony show for all of our, people who come to our homes and put on this big hospitality entertaining gala and look really, really good. And in the background, we've been screaming at our spouses, screaming at our kids, blah, 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 and just ripping down our relationships. When you think about it, what we do for people we hardly know and what we do to the people that we know well is kind of scary. So invest in this relationship, that you have these relationships with the ones that you love the most. Deep responsibility as a mom, as a spouse, even as a friend or a sister or cousin even. All of these things should weigh on you and should matter. And that doesn't mean, again, it's not to make you feel bad. It's to make you understand the weight of this responsibility and the privilege as well. And the other thing that this does when we start thinking about this deep responsibility and deep ownership and how these two things go hand in hand is this long-term thinking. Long-term thinking is impactful on what it is that you do next. When you start thinking in terms of not hand-wringing over your future, but planning for your future. You think about your implications for today. How is that going to affect me tomorrow? How is that going to impact me in all ways? One of the things, and I'll share this with you, one of the things that we're doing is our distribution is going to change over in the new year to our manufacturing company. They do distribution as well. And, we have done our own distribution for 3 years now, close to 4. And it's been a great thing. But if we are looking at fostering a growth, then we need to be putting ourselves in place to develop that kind of growth. I can't do that here. And it's okay. There's a part of me that's saying, I don't want to do this. But this is the way that we can expand and to become more than where we are right now today. Does that make sense? And it's what we need to do this in our lives. We need to look at this and say, if I deposit $100 every day or every month into a retirement account, at the end of these years, we're going to have X, Y, and Z. It's that kind of a thing. It's compound interest is what it is. And it's planning and strategizing for a deeper, bigger future. And I will tell you, it impacts. And, when you're doing this at the gym, like, you're at the gym doing your squats, or you're doing your overhead presses, or whatever it is that you're doing. When you're doing that, you're not getting instant results. It doesn't work that way, but you are getting a compounded result because of the deep responsibility that you're taking for your body. You are getting compounded results for the deep responsibility that you take in your relationship when you speak words of appreciation. It's not going to change everything overnight, but over time, it's impressive. It's incredible how that all works out. The other thing that it does when we are in this place of deep responsibility and deep ownership is that we face challenges and failures completely different. Because we understand at the root of it all, there we are, right? There we are. Because This is how we learn. This is how we grow. This is how we analyze and figure out what worked and what didn't. Because nothing is ever 100% of a failure at all. There's always things that, there's always setbacks. You never do anything just perfectly. Oh, hello. I've been in business for 22 years. And I will tell you, all over the place. I've shared that with you, all over the place. There were times when I thought, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to go be a Walmart greeter. I'm going to do something else. This is crazy town. And there's other times where I was training other people. There was all the different things. We do things, we change things, and we face challenges. We face the failures, and we know that it's part of the journey. It's not a detour. It's a learning experience. And maybe at the time we don't look at it that way. Maybe at the time we look at it and just say, this is just miserable, right? But if we can stand back, take a look at the studies too. The studies in positive psychology shows us that owning and learning from our failures is the key to developing resilience and grit and not quit. This is why sometimes I call it the cha-cha, because sometimes it is 2 steps up and 1 step back. Sometimes it's 3 steps up and 2 steps back. And sometimes it's just frustrating because it's 2 steps up and 2 steps back, isn't it? But it's part of the learning experience. And if we can go there, if we can say, you know what? I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to be risky. I'm willing to do the hard thing and learn from it and grow from it and get better from it, then watch what happens. Because it's part of becoming the woman you're supposed to become. The other thing is the influence on your community and in your environment. Of course, what happens when you become environmentally conscious, right? You just throw your plastic out and you just throw out your bottles and what have you. No, you recycle. You use you get better at doing things. You recognize you're part of the problem if you're just throwing stuff out randomly. We have a responsibility to part of this planet. We have a responsibility to this community, don't we, as a whole? And, it changes everything that we do. It helps us to be better stewards of our resources, better stewards of our environments. And it suggests that the research in environmental psychology, yes, there is such a thing, by the way, it suggests that people who feel a sense of ownership toward their environment are more likely to engage in eco-friendly activities and practices. And this is important. I try as much as possible to use glass and to recycle glass. There's enough plastic in this world. Hey, Lynn, by the way, I see you. But this is what it's all about. This is how we become better stewards of our environments, better stewards in our communities, and a little bit more aware of what's going on around us. It's not all about you or me. It's about us as a community. So if you understand this, then you understand that this deep ownership stuff that goes right along with deep responsibility is more than just a principle. It's a way of living that brings about clarity, purpose, responsibility, and guess what else? Vibrancy. So I want you to realize this, and I want you to see this, because when you embrace this, you're not just navigating through your life, you're shaping it into what you want. And by the way, that's the way you're supposed to live this life. That's how you create your own sense of vibrancy. It's all on you. So take deep responsibility and then take deep ownership and watch your world transform. It will. Alrighty then, that's today's show. Thank you so much for joining me if you joined me live for today's live show. I will see you next Tuesday, but meanwhile, don't forget the best ofs are going to be here every single day for you with the show notes, right? On our, we have a resource page. We'll share that with you. And the other thing I want you to really keep in mind, by the way, is that our Black Friday sale is on. It's raging. It's going. And stuff is flying out the doors. We have inventory counters on everything. And once it's gone, it's gone. So get on it, sister. We want you to have everything that you want. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you. I will see you all next week. Meanwhile, take advantage of that sale. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.